Pick her up, Adam.
All right, we're here. Another episode of Let's Talk Music. Me, Rob, Colin, we're here. Today we are going to tackle something that turned out to be a little harder than I thought it was going to be. We're going to look at the top 10 AC/DC best songs. And in doing so, we also realize that we may also have to make another list of our top 10 favorite AC/DC songs, because our favorites and the bests aren't always quite the same. I know I had a lot of fun doing it. How about you?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot harder than I anticipated. I thought it would be actually pretty easy given how many songs they have. It's like, yeah, just grab. Because going into it, I'm thinking, I already know which ones I like. So it's going to be easy. Just jot them down. And then you start hearing them, and there's certain songs you haven't heard in a while that you forgot about. You're like, oh, wait a minute. No, yeah, this one too, and this one. And then you got to take songs out to put songs in. And it was a fun challenge, though.
Yeah, and trying to figure out the best, and I sort of balanced my idea of best AC/DC songs. I used the influence that they've had, the popularity of that particular song. So not all the best list fit my personal favorite list, and some of the songs on my favorite list didn't fit the best list. So I think that's the cool thing about these lists is they're all subjective.
Fun thing for me on this one was that I wasn't necessarily expecting that we'd be doing this. So we
So you did no homework.
Well, we basically text went around. Let's look at AC/DC's top 10. Let's come up with this and everything else. And then 5 days or a week or whatever it was. And it's just a busy week for me, so I didn't have much time. But I didn't think, oh, yeah, AC/DC. I know AC/DC like the back of my hand. I've been listening to them for 40 years now, so not a big deal. I can pull songs out of my butt, and it's not a problem whatsoever. Yeah. And then it's like, how do you narrow it down? And that's the problem. And the fun part of this is that I had no idea that we'd be taking on AC/DC, who has such a prolific discography and huge selection, as the first of the teardowns in this particular type of a venue. We could definitely go on with almost any other band and had a far lesser catalog to work with.
Well, it would have been definitely easier, but, let's just go alphabetical. We'll start with AC/DC. Aerosmith next.
That's true. Got to find a band with 2 A's, Aardvark or something.
Yeah, no doubt.
Too bad we already AC, and we don't get to do an ABBA one, so damn.
Don't get to? Rob and I would disagree with you on that one.
Rob could name 3 ABBA songs.
ABBA?
Yeah.
From the Dancing Queen himself?
I can name 3 ABBA songs.
Right now?
Yeah, right now.
Okay.
Fernando, what's that? Gimme, 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 whatever.
Is that what it's called? What's that? Gimme, gimme, gimme,
no, it's
whatever?
called Gimme, Gimme, Gimme or something like that.
Okay.
And Dancing Queen.
Okay.
That may be the only 3 I know.
I'm going to give you 2.5.
Why?
Because you're not 100% sure of the other song title.
It's Gimme, 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 but it might have something else like in brackets or something. But I know Gimme, Gimme, Gimme is definitely in the title.
So you get 2.5.
Okay, I'll take 2. That's more than I thought I would get. So I'll take 2.5.
To be honest, that's 2.5 more than I thought you were going to get 2.
So AC/DC it is. Like I say, I just wasn't expecting to have that big of a topic so early on. I mean, we're still basically trying to figure out the format, figure out how we're doing things, and we're leaving some topics for later because we want to do them justice. When we're more experienced and better at doing this, having these conversations. I mean, it's just a sit down.
But how do you fuck
chat,
up AC/DC?
But
I mean, it's pretty simple. We're not going to fuck it up. I don't think. I hope not.
Well, no, it's just it's a big topic, I think, and for anybody who does not understand the breadth and the depth of the category. I mean, the one thing about AC/DC is how do you pick the top 10 because they're AC/DC. You can literally listen to the first 3 notes of an AC/DC song and know it's AC/DC because they have such a classic AC/DC stamp of sound. So
many people think the album Back in Black is a greatest hits album. And it's not. Like, that was the album when it came out. It just that's every song on it is so good. It feels like a greatest hits album. And I know when I started doing it, I was at 10 songs in, like on my 3rd album that I was listening to, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, I still have like 18 more albums to listen to, and that's all I did this week. I listened to every single AC/DC album except for Black Ice because. It's just
is that
good?
Is Black Ice their Van Halen 3?
Van Halen 3 wasn't that bad, though. But, yeah, Black Ice is just, it's their weakest output for sure, I think.
For you,
I
for
think
somebody
he's
who
the
is
weakest,
just newly inducted into being in AC/DC as a fan,
Yeah, it's a good start.
It could have been their first album, and that could be where they find the best. I mean,
Yeah.
it's what we're talking about today is
But
extremely
hopefully
subjective.
they go from Black Ice and work backwards and figure out the errors of their way.
I mean, if they have good friends, they'll be guided
Yeah.
towards the other albums and say, ignore Black Ice.
Yeah.
Like, here's what you should listen to.
Well, to be blunt,
But-
people are less guided by their friends than by media at this point in time.
That is
So
very true.
most people who are listening to music will be listening to it on something like Spotify, and so
Wait,
they'll
do
be
we count
guided
as
into
media
things.
right now then? Because then they could listen to us and we could be their friend and help guide them.
You know what? My 16-year-old wants to listen to all of our podcasts. Wants to have that. He thinks listening to old dudes talk shit about stuff is just the greatest thing since sliced bread. So he
Now, is that
wants to
like-
hear it all.
In a good way, or is that in a he's making fun of us way?
No, in a good way. In a good,
Hey,
at least
exposure is exposure. We'll take it.
I'll take it in a good way.
I know you're listening, Alex. You better be kind, you little fuck.
That's true. And in a few years when Aiden's listening to it, because there's a little too much in the way of swearing, but
Yeah,
We'll let him.
we'll try and do a family-friendly one later.
no, you won't. So,
I can try. It ain't gonna work.
as I was getting to, most people who are cutting their teeth into anything are going to basically probably be hitting up Spotify or hitting up
So
YouTube
before
or hitting up
you
other
go
ones.
further
right?
with that, I want to throw this out here because you have the Spotify list in front of you.
Mhm.
I think Rob and I should do our 10 first, and then you let us know what Spotify says is the number 10. And let's see
Hmm.
how accurate or how close Rob and I just listening to it match up with, I guess, the fucking listening world, right?
I can tell you at least 3 or 4 songs that I put on my personal top 10 are not on the Spotify top 10.
Your personal, you think are the best, or your personal favorites?
My personal favorites.
Okay, yeah.
Not the
Yeah.
ones. So it depends entirely on what you deem as what you think is the best. Like, do you deem it as technically their best music?
Well, yeah, that's
Because
what it was like the best AC/DC songs all around for like marketability, their sale, their popularity, all these things like that. Not necessarily our personal opinion on that.
yeah.
And then we have our 10 favorites.
But the thing with AC/DC is, like, on a technical level,
They're all the same.
they're all the
they
same.
wrote like
Yeah.
3 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And they're all iterations of kind of the same 3 themes. So
But
there
they
is
do it
no
good.
there is no technical song that jumps out in front of one or another. I mean, anytime where you saw Angus basically hammering on all the different notes with his other hand up in the air,
Like Thundershock.
that's basically like key iconic AC/DC in my world. They're that. I mean, between that and when he's hopping around and doing his little leg kick stuff, and I mean, there are some very key critical components to AC/DC, and especially when you go out in concert and you see those things, you kind of expect those things, you want those things. That's the music video jumping off the TV and into real life for you. Those things are what I look at, because you're not going to look at song structure as being one thing technically better than another.
No. And not AC/DC is not that technical of a band.
No.
They're pretty basic.
That's true, although try and imitate Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Axl came in to fill in for him, because there's not many people that can sing like Brian
No.
Johnson.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to start out with my number 10 song on the list of what I feel are the best AC/DC songs is going to be High Voltage.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I took as my number 10 on there. It sums up a lot of their music and their just identity as a band,
Mm-hmm.
and that like the high voltage rock and roll, that line and how he sings it. It's just a good song. And we're going to say this so many times. The drum beat is awesome. The guitar beat is awesome. Like, they're all the same. It's just good chugging forward, straight up rock and roll. That's all it is. So, do we need to say that 20 more times?
Yes.
But we will.
It
Yeah.
is funny that you refer to it as chugging, because when you and I were growing up, obviously that would be like Bush Party, AC/DC in the
beers and
background.
that.
AC/DC in the background for sure.
Yeah, yeah. For my number 10, I got TNT.
Nice.
Dynamite.
Yeah, because I mean, it's such a recognizable like staple And they're right. You hear just the beginning, and you just
again that simple drum beat.
It's simple. There's nothing too fancy about it, but it's just like vintage AC/DC, like their sound.
Yeah.
And it's they got an impressive catalog when a song as good as TNT is number 10.
Yeah.
On the best of 10.
True. Now,
Like-
let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If you were growing up living in Australia, would you have the same top 10? Because
I have no idea.
I think TNT takes a much higher spot in Australia.
Yeah.
Oh, probably, yeah.
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 Last USC that we watched that took place in Australia, the moment that TNT played, the
That place
crowd
went
went nuts.
I thought every fighter should have came out to TNT.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. And, I fucked around with my list for a while. Like at one point, TNT was a lot higher than 10. But then as I went on through the discography, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, no, this goes, it just got bumped down. But I mean, being number 10 on a top 10 AC/DC list is not a knock.
No.
That's but yeah, TNT, that's what I'm going with for number 10.
And
Crazy.
Mr. Colin, what does Spotify have to say for number 10?
Number 10 was a surprise to me. I would not think Rock and Roll Train would be on there.
Rock and Roll Train, eh? Oh.
In number 10 with 150 million plays. So the top 10 isn't necessarily what people have voted as top 10 so much as
It's
the
just
top
plays.
10 number
Yeah.
of plays. Yeah.
Which
And
is a pretty
so-
good parameter, too, though. Like
Yeah,
for
if you're-
popularity, anyways.
If you're looking for a temperature gauge, the amount of plays that people have put onto it will tell a pretty specific story, for sure. For me, and I mean, this is going to be a little bit of a cat out of bag scenario. I would probably put Money Talks or Who Made Who in about the number 10 spot.
No.
Neither album has an entry in the top 10 on Spotify.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Neither
Neither song off of the album has an entry in there. Like I say, I was surprised to see Rock and Roll Train there.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have gone on either one of my lists. I like the song, but it wouldn't have.
It's a generic
Yeah.
AC/DC
Yeah.
sound for sure.
And I went to the concert when they were touring for that one. I went to that. So it's not like I dislike it. It's AC/DC. You can't dislike it. If you
No,
like
yeah.
10 songs, you probably like them all. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have probably put something else Who Made Who in there. Howard,
That's a good one.
on to number
9. You want to start with 9?
Yeah, number 9, I'm going to go with Sin City from the Power Age album. That's one of my favorites.
That's a dirty song.
Yeah. I actually had that song higher at one point, and then eventually it moved down. But Power Age is my favorite AC/DC album. I love their more slowed down, stripped down bluesy stuff.
Yeah.
I was telling Adam earlier, I don't think they get enough credit for their not that this was a blues cover, but they don't get enough credit for the blues covers they do in their catalog. They do such a good job of it. It's the more commercial songs whatnot get the recognition, like the more upbeat, hard rock stuff, but their blues stuff I've always found to be just awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and they're one of those bands too that started with that real heavy blues influence on their rock and roll from way back when too. So it's it makes sense that they're really good at that.
And maybe Sin City should have been more on my favorites list, which it is. But
it's hard to argue with.
It's hard, but it's such a great song. Yeah. It's like, why can't it be on their best? Right?
That there's another statement you're going to say 100 times now. It's hard to argue with.
Yeah.
You could literally pick anything from any of the catalog, and it's hard to argue it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So my number 9, I got Let There Be Rock.
Nice.
Which is just another one of those tunes, especially that breakdown in the middle when he's like, you go to a concert and you have the lead singer introduces the band, and on drums we got this guy and on bass. Yeah. And they kind of do that, it's like, let there be drums, let there be guitar, let there be, It's such a cool breakdown that they do in the song. I really like that, and the drum beat on it is awesome. It's one that always
it's an awesome one.
Gets you going.
I actually had that one originally as my number 10, which then it got bumped for TNT, but it was one of those hard decisions where I'm like, I can't take this one out, but I can't leave this one out. But I'm glad I'm glad you have it on there. So one of us has it on there because it should be on there. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a counterpoint to that one, I'd probably have something like "For Those About to Rock" sitting up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once again, not an entry in the top 10 on Spotify.
No. Well,
None.
"For Those About to Rock" is in my like honorable mention.
None
here.
of the songs that we just listed in the spot for number 9 are in the top 10 on Spotify.
Wow.
So, in terms of
So what was number
popularity
9
of
on
the songs,
Spotify?
in number 9 with 203.6 million plays, we have "It's a Long Way to the Top."
Nice. I mean, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Only if
They
you want to
made
rock and
fucking
roll.
bagpipes cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I don't know if they made it. Like, yeah, okay, maybe you're.
name one other
I mean,
song that has bagpipes.
I've always
That's
thought
cool.
bagpipes were cool though, if they're played right.
Yeah.
Like
And they played it right.
they played it right. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that song, and then my next favorite bagpipe song would be Roddy Piper's Entrance.
Yeah.
And then number 3 is pretty far away. I don't know what
Probably
number 3 would be.
Dropkick Murphys, maybe.
Yeah, maybe something by them. Yeah.
So, in we've only gone through number 10 and number 9, right? And between the songs that we've all mentioned plus Spotify, we're already past 10 songs.
Wow.
This is the problem with the AC/DC catalog.
Yeah.
But is it a problem?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is one of those things of there's so much. How do you get on top or in front of it all?
Yeah.
Because there's just so much.
Yeah. I hear
That's
you.
true.
I hear you.
Well,
And
mine,
The subjective aspect of it is crazy
Yeah.
because there's no way that we can literally list. Honestly, to try and have something outside of your personal top 10 is kind of almost a bit ridiculous. Because otherwise, we're basically looking at the monetary amount that each song has generated
yeah.
based on movies or videos or whatever it happens to be. And we don't have those numbers in front of
Yeah.
us.
No,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
and that being said, my number 8 is a very different AC/DC song. There's only maybe 1 or 2 like it, and that's "Ride On."
Ooh, that's a good one.
And it's
Yeah.
probably the closest thing that they would have to a ballad, if you can call it that.
Yeah.
But it's just so smooth in its execution and nice and slow, and it has a little build in it where like you expect it to just like start crashing in, like turn into a rock song, and it doesn't. And I love that aspect. I always love it. First time I heard it, I loved it, how it felt like they were building you up,
Yeah.
and then they didn't. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's cool, because I'd never heard somebody do that before. And I'd always heard them build you up and then like go all balls out. But this was the first time where it kind of built you up and then it just came right back down again. It was like, ooh, that was neat. I like that.
Yeah.
So, and I love that song. It's amazing.
Yeah. That's one you don't hear mentioned very often, but it's a pretty good one.
As an aside to that too, I got to say, Ugly Kid Joe does an amazing cover job
Yeah.
of Ride On.
Ugly Kid Joe always nails the covers though.
Oh, yeah.
Cats in the Cradle is a pretty good
Yeah.
example,
Yeah. And their Sweet Leaf cover too.
Sweet Leaf is awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
So for my number 8, I have Shoot to Thrill.
Shoot to Thrill, nice.
Shoot to Thrill, yeah.
Yeah.
Always loved that song. Always felt like it should have been bigger. Maybe I know it was pretty big, but I don't know.
It got big now with Iron Man.
True.
The movie.
True. Yeah. But it's one of their better, I think, like as far as like more upbeat songs, you know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Shoot to Thrill. Always love that one.
Gotcha.
Good driving song too. Good
Very.
song to speak
Yeah, if
to.
you want a ticket.
Yeah.
If you want to take it. Depends on how you're playing it.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, sometimes if you're slowed down intentionally and you're cruising, that's one thing. But if
Yeah.
you're driving to the tempo, then you're pretty much SOL.
Yeah.
Spotify tends to agree with you, although you're stepping up above, you're hitting above your charter there. Spotify has Shoot to Thrill at number 7. Number 7. So you did pick one out. Shoot to Thrill is 301 million plays. Since we're on number 8, I am going to announce that one, but I obviously had to tell you that one. But I would probably have gone with Jailbreak. I mean, was when they were leaving Australia. It was when they were expanding to be worldwide. I remember my brother actually got the LP for that one, and we threw it on my parents' record player, and we rocked out to Jailbreak.
Well, and the way they were able to use like the drums and the guitar for the machine gun sounds in that was just awesome. And at that time when it came out, that was 74. That like nobody was doing stuff like that. You know, like the idea of using your instruments to make the sounds of something else wasn't really as well used as it might be today. Yeah,
well, I mean, keep in mind there was, and one of the things that we're not really covering in this discussion is how instrumental AC/DC was in the evolution of rock.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, they're one of the pillars. If you were to set up the pillars of rock and roll, AC/DC's got to be somewhere in there as one of the mainstays. They got to be on
the Mount Rushmore of rock and roll,
for sure, right? And for me, Jailbreak was kind of one of their big ones. That was one of the very first songs that I actually ever heard from AC/DC because it was early on. It was from one of their first albums, and
you're old.
For me, and I'm old, so I think I was born the year that came out. So it's not like I was hearing it in the womb, but it was definitely one of the first ones that I was exposed to. But Spotify's number 8 is Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap with 279.3 million plays.
Yeah, that's a good song too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Once again, illustrating all three of us, totally different song. Yours happened to be shooting up into the Spotify playlist, but the other song is not on the playlist whatsoever.
Well, and I knew Ride On wouldn't be, and I thought Ride On would be an iffy one on there, but I think it just, as far as like best songs, because it was a departure from what they normally did, it was also a really big song too, and it gets used quite a bit in movies, and I've heard it on TV shows and stuff. So that's why I threw it on there.
Yep.
But I also knew that the chances of it being on both your guys' lists were going to be
slim pretty much not.
Yeah, so that's good.
Especially because it's only one list. I'm literally making one up on the fly here.
Yeah. And so that moves us into 7, which my number 7 is Spotify's Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. I threw that at number 7 on there.
Gotcha.
And it just, that's a good song.
You guys are pretty much hitting some of those right on.
Yeah. Number 7 for me, I'm going with Highway to Hell.
Really?
Yeah. It's
number 7.
Number 7. Yeah. Essential AC/DC song.
Yeah.
I don't put it up there, me personally, as like one at the very top, but it's got to be in the top 10. Like
your personal top and the top, according to Spotify, are not going to be the same thing.
No.
I mean, we've already covered.
And this is just not my favorite, but the best, that you got to have Highway to Hell in there. Like
yeah.
I'm not sure where I would put Highway to Hell on me personally.
I know where it is on mine.
It'd be in the top 10 for sure. But I don't know. It wouldn't be top 1 for me.
Top 1, it wouldn't be?
It wouldn't be top 1
for me either.
No. It'd be. It would either be top 5 or maybe 6 or 7, but probably top 5.
Yeah.
Because I never sat down and actually wrote my list to come up with that. I have to holistically look at it, and I mean it's a great song. It's one of my favorite AC/DC songs, but it's not my favorite AC/DC song.
I agree. And going into it, I thought, it'll be in the top 5 for sure, Highway to Hell. But then as I started listening, it kept getting bumped down for us. Like, it's not going to make the top 5. Like, again, just goes to speak of how deep their catalog is, right? Like when a song like Highway to Hell, which is like an essential AC/DC song, if you don't put it in the top 5, it's like.
Yeah, I wrote down like probably 15 songs just off the top of my head, and then I started diving in and listening to it, and it's amazing the amount of changes and stuff.
Oh,
and
man,
I was like, there's this one and that one.
Yeah.
And you've said a couple songs already that I didn't even aren't even on my paper anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy fuck, how did that one's not even written down?
Yeah.
And so yours was Dirty Deeds. Yours was Hell's Bells.
His was Highway to Hell.
Sorry, Highway to Hell. Yeah. Mine, if I were put it in, it would be Hell's Bells.
Yeah.
As I was driving back from going skiing yesterday, I put on a bunch of music, and there was there was one song, because I had a car full of Metallica fans, and so we were listening to Metallica, and up came a song that started with a bell, and it every single time I hear a song that starts with a bell, there's 3 options. There's always 3 options.
Yeah.
Hell's Bells is one of those.
Yeah.
And yeah, that'd be on my top. As soon as I hear a bell opening up a song, it's like I know I'm gonna like it.
Well, and that's a song too. Like with that bell, they have like just gave themselves one of the greatest concert opening songs too, because they can have that bell ring for as many times as they need to get out on stage, and the crowd is already like just going nuts before they even get there, and all it is just a bell. That's it. All right, and it's such an iconic sound. You hear it, and you immediately get that feeling, like you said. You know, it's one of 3 songs that you're gonna think of immediately, and it's just you hear that dong, and it's like, oh my God, yes! Like okay, I'm gonna fucking rock out for the next 3-4 minutes. Like this is gonna be a good time.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Now, in number. What were we on? Was this number 7?
7, yeah.
Yeah, so we've already covered that on the Spotify. Number 7 is Shoot to Thrill.
So you got that one. So then we'll move to...
You snuck that one in earlier.
Yeah.
So there's no surprise on that one.
So we'll go to my number 6. I got TNT. So it makes its first appearance on my list there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know you've already had it. Spotify's already had it, but I put it up there.
Yeah.
It's TNT.
It's TNT.
It's dynamite.
It's like JJ.
Yeah, dynamite. Only if JJ was cool.
Yeah.
Back in the day, he was pretty cool.
Yeah. Sorry, this is number 6, right?
Yeah, you're number 6.
We're to number 6.
For number 6, I've got Hell's Bells in. Yeah. I mean,
good taste, my man. Good taste.
Like you just said, you hear that bell. It's iconic beginning. And it is one of their biggest hit. Like, it's Hell's Bells. Yeah.
Well, and the guitar riff is so cool too, and like I remember as a kid learning how to play it, and I remember listening to it and thinking like, wow, that sounds really hard to do. Like that sounds really hard to play. And then when I learned it, like, well, it's just a chord with a pinky. Like I already know how to do that. Like it made me so happy because I could play it. And it sounds difficult, but it wasn't difficult to do, and it made me so happy to be able to learn how to play that song. I was just like, oh my God! And like my mom probably hates Hell's Bells because that's all I did for like months. And it's only that one riff. That's it. That's all I know how to play. Well, a little bit of the middle, but like it was only that one little bit, and I played that to death. But
So back in the number 10 spot, I kind of did 2 songs. I said Who Made Who and Money Talks. So I'll use the other one of those 2 in this spot.
Okay.
I'm interchangeable on those. They could have been 10-9. They could have been whatever. But I just thought back and thinking to myself, why did I say 2 for that spot? So I'll use that one there. Spotify actually has Hell's Bells at number 6. So nailed that one to the wall like Jello. So that's 306 million plays for that one.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
Now, the unfortunate thing is you already just took Spotify's number 1.
I already did, really.
Yeah, they have Highway to Hell at number 1.
I can't say I'm surprised.
No.
I mean, it is one of their most well-known songs. Yeah.
In terms of the top 10, would have been up there for me for sure. But not necessarily number 1.
Yeah.
But the public has spoken, and to the tune of 1.185 billion plays.
Yeah, but we are educated stupid.
That's true. We've covered this.
So number 5, Rob, what's yours?
Number 5, I've got Jailbreak.
Yeah.
And I wish I could put that higher because that's my favorite AC/DC song. But this is the best of, not, So, I mean, it's Jailbreak, I really do think it's the coolest AC/DC song of all of them. That whole EP was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was.
I don't think there was a bad track on there. but that's always been a standout
A
track.
lot of Rosie was on that too, wasn't it?
Was it on there, or was it on? It might have been, but
I because there's so much, because there's so
But I
little
think
difference in the
Jailbreak had
songs.
some of those songs were also on other albums, like Sin City, wasn't it on there? Problem Child, wasn't it also on that album?
I
And
can't
on a different
remember,
one?
to be honest.
I conflate the different albums.
I don't-
I mix the catalogs.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
have
I
a
don't
hard
think
time.
Sin City was in that EP.
Might not
but-
have been. Yeah.
Oh,
Something else I'm thinking of. There.
yeah, yeah.
Screamer. I think Screamer was on.
I can't remember. Yeah. Yeah.
So you got Jailbreak at number 5.
Got Jailbreak, yeah.
I got Hell's Bells. That's where it sits for me.
Okay.
What's number 5 on Spotify?
Spotify has TNT
TNT.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Looks,
with 544 million plays.
Nice.
all right.
Number 4, I took You Shook Me All Night Long in my 4 spot.
Yep.
Again, that's just another one of those riffs that's easily iconic and catching. And, you know, it's, as a guitar player, being younger, me and my buddy Chris, we would sit down in like our basements and just listen to AC/DC. Like Highway to Hell was the album he had at his place, and that's what we learned guitar tune and played. And like so many AC/DC songs have such cool guitar riffs, and I don't know of any other band that I personally know more riffs from on the guitar than AC/DC.
Yeah.
But I can't play a single AC/DC song all the way through. If that makes
Oh,
any
yeah,
sense,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
can play most of Angus Young's like opening licks and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, but to try and play Malcolm, I can't. I'm not good enough to do that. I can't do it. So it's as easy as they are. They're also pretty hard
Yeah.
for being
Yeah.
so simple. And you shook me all night long is one of those riffs that was just. First time when I learned how to play it, I was like, "Oh my god, like this is awesome!" Especially when it sounds like it.
Yeah.
It's just a cool feeling. I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." So
Well, they don't have a lot of tempo changes. That's one of the
Not
things that I
really,
found.
no.
Like when you look at a lot of thrash metal, and once you start getting into some of those bands, half of the complexity of the songs is that they totally,
Yeah.
completely change their tempo multiple times throughout the song, and oftentimes like with very short periods of time in between them, and it makes a very complex song to play.
Yeah.
AC/DC do
AC/DC
that.
just 4/4 time
Totally.
forever.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
Yeah.
And, but
they're
that's
pretty dependable.
But part of that is you can hide a lot in those tempo changes.
Yeah.
For a drummer, keeping that steady 4/4 time continually, it's almost
and making it interesting.
it's almost more difficult
Yeah.
than having a total change up,
Yeah.
if not more difficult. I mean, it's pretty naked, right? I mean, you're standing there for everybody to look at basically
Yeah.
because it's expected, it's known, it's repetitive, and if you
And it's
screw
only
up,
4 beats.
and if you
That's it.
screw up, it's as plain as getting punched in the face, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's complex in its simplicity, if that makes sense. Shook Me All Night Long would probably be right there for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy top, but not number 1. So that's yeah.
What was your number 4?
My number 4. Sorry, I said Jailbreak. We were on 5, right? Or no, with that
We're
4.
on 4.
4. Okay. So my number 4 is "It's a Long Way to the Top." If you want to rock and roll.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was the first AC/DC song I heard. It was, and it kind of like made me a fan right away. You know, probably one of their top. Like it's pretty I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty recognizable.
Maybe not. I know it's not maybe as recognizable as "Highway to Hell," which I had lower than that, but it's still a pretty well known song. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so true too, because it is a long way
Yeah.
to the top.
It's,
Like it's
it's quite the distance.
yeah.
I haven't gotten there yet, so
It depends on what you define as the top.
Yeah.
So.
if it's the top of my life, I hope I haven't gotten there yet. So.
Man, like, and that whole High Voltage album, it's like
Yeah.
I could go blindfolded into it and pick out tracks, and I'd be happy with whatever. Like the entire album was just
it's
so
a
good.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
good album.
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly. So yeah, I'm going with "It's a Long Way to the Top"
Yeah.
for number 4.
Well, and we know that one already hit number 9 on Spotify. You Shook Me All Night Long is number 4. on Spotify with 800. So we go from TNT at 544 million plays to Shook Me All Night Long at 834 million plays.
Wow.
I'd be curious to know from when. It doesn't tell me that. So Spotify's been around for a while. It's not terribly new, but
are these lifetime or yearly?
as far as I know, it's lifetime. As far as I know. Literally Googled Spotify AC/DC top, and
that came up. Well, it's not a bad list. I mean.
So it's the popular list. But the thing is, I don't know, and this is the things that I don't know, is there one place, one person, one thing has uploaded AC/DC's song, Highway to Hell, for instance, or if 5 people upload it, and this is linked, like from 5 different ones. I don't know. I don't have any stats on that because I don't know how they vet the back end of the songs going up. I have no clue. I know anybody and their dog can make a playlist. And for that matter, Highway to Hell might be on a whole bunch of really popular playlists, and that's why it's getting a whole bunch of plays as compared to other songs. I don't know. I don't have the metric for that.
Yeah.
So while that is a metric that Spotify has, there's a bunch of different contributing factors that might bring a song up over another one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of like if it was featured in Stranger Things.
Yes.
Not to hint
That's a good point.
Not to hint at anything else on that one, but so going into number 3, where you at?
That's where I've got Highway to Hell sitting on my list.
Yeah.
Is that number 3? Yep.
Number 3, I got Back in Black at number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an easy one for me. I mean, I knew it was going to be in the top 3. I wasn't sure where exactly, but yeah, I'm comfortable with having it at number 3.
And again, another iconic riff.
Yeah.
And if you had that one at number 1, I'd be like, yep. Like it's one of those, you know.
If Hell's Bells was number 1, you'd be like, yep.
Yeah. Exactly.
If Rock and Roll Train was at number 1, we'd all be like,
yeah.
So, I mean, there's some, when you're in the top 5, 6, any of them are interchangeable.
Exactly.
Any of them.
Yeah. So,
the thing that the Spotify list brings to light for me is the surprise of the missing ones.
Yeah,
and the sheer volume of difference between the top ones and the bottom ones for how much playtime they've gotten.
Yeah.
Including the ones that aren't in there. Like I say, the Who Made Who, where's that one? It's not even in the list.
Yeah.
Right?
I know, and that was one of their biggest hits.
Another song I can play.
Yeah. So it's kind of strange, but Back in Black would be the top for sure. That'd be in my top 3.
Yeah.
And what does Spotify have at number 3?
Spotify has Back in Black at number 3.
There you go.
And that one they crack into the billions. Although this is kind of an oddity. I don't know why I'm reading it like this, but Back in Black is sitting at popularity number 3, but with more plays than the top 2. But it's clearly labeled at number 3. It's so strange.
Yeah.
But it's sitting at 1.22 billion plays. So compared to the other 2 in the top 3, it's actually more plays than the other ones. But then it's listed as number 3 on the top popular.
Well, and we'll stick out Back in Black because that's my number 2. It's Back in Black. That's where I put that one.
Nice. My number 2 is For Those About to Rock, We Salute You, which I actually almost had that one at number 1 because that's
a good song.
That's one of my favorite AC/DC songs. But
in my honorable mentions.
But but because it is the best, and it wasn't personal favorites, I bumped it down to 2. But yeah, like that one had to be in the top 3 for me. So whether it was that one or Back in Black, interchanging,
Yeah. And this is where probably narrowing down the homework before creating the homework. What list are we generating? A top 10 list, okay, but what are the qualifications for that top 10 list? Is it my personal favorites? Is it what I think are the band's better ones? Is it...
Yeah.
Because when we're coming up with the top 10, unless we're going to literally sit down, comb through, different websites, come at each of them from a different angle and figure out what is the metric by which I'm measuring this particular stat, it's a subjective list. We might as well just look at what our personal top 10
Yeah,
is.
exactly. Yeah.
So trying to go, well, what would okay, yeah, but this one has to be there. It's not going to be on my personal top 10, but it has to be. Kind of doesn't.
But
even
we
make
can
sense.
have those two lists because, like, I'll go back to the example that Rob and I use. Like, Master of Puppets is Metallica's best album.
Mm-hmm.
However, Kill 'Em All is our favorite album. So we rank Kill 'Em All higher than Master of Puppets. So that's the difference between a best of and a favorite of. And the best of is trying to look at all those like logical things and look at other people and getting out of your personal bias towards the song and trying to do it. But I mean, even with that, there's still so many things we can go wrong on that. But there hasn't been a single thing that he's put on his list where I've been like, yeah, you're out to lunch on that one. Not one of them has been like, that doesn't make sense there. Like, and in fact, there was a couple where I was like, oh, fuck, I should have done that. Like, yeah, like, oh, mine should have been on there. Yeah. There's a couple songs he has that I don't, that I was like, like, yeah, there's a good argument there.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So.
For sure. And so that's your number 2, Back in Black. And your number 2 is For Those About to Rock.
For Those About to Rock, yeah.
And my number 2, I think that might have been where I would put a Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell, yeah.
Yeah, because it's definitely top couple for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and I've already said that Spotify on this list of popular, it's listed as number 1, even though it's technically number 2 in terms of number of plays. Back in Black being the highest number of plays, and Highway to Hell has 1.185 billion. Sufficient. I mean, if they're getting paid, say, a penny a play, could you imagine it?
So I think, judging by the songs that have been said and haven't been said, we either have the same number 1 or 2 very different number 1s.
Yeah.
Well, number 1 for me, and I just put it, Spotify has it as number 2. I would have done Thunderstruck.
That's my number 1.
It's mine too.
That's your number 1. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get more iconic than the opening of, like, how do you not put that as number, right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
I remember where I was the first time I heard that album.
Yeah.
Like, I literally, the first time I heard that song from that album, I remember exactly where I was.
That was my first AC/DC concert, was the Razor's Edge in Saskatoon.
And I mean, for me, only that song could have knocked off For Those About to Rock or Back in Black.
Yeah.
No other song would have done that. Like, if that song didn't exist, one of those two would have been number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Thunderstruck is just, it's played everywhere. It transcends all like musical listening styles. Like, I don't know anybody who doesn't like Thunderstruck. I've never heard anybody say, well, it's a stupid song. Like, you've never heard that. You go to any hockey game, that song starts playing, the crowd's fucking into it. Like,
regardless of where you are, that song starts playing, the air guitar is coming out for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's gonna just
And that's one of those ones where in the video, you were talking earlier about how they take things from the music video and go in, and you even said Angus having his hand in the air. We watched the music video, and that's how I learned how to play that guitar, was watching it and hitting pause and seeing where his finger is on the guitar, and like, okay, and then rewind a little bit, watch it, hit pause.
Yeah.
Okay, then his finger goes here. And that's how we learn how to play it. We watched that video. I learned how to play Thunderstruck one-handed on guitar.
Not knowing that it was picked.
Right? And then I went to see him in concert, and Angus picks it. He didn't play it one-handed. He didn't do his hand up in the air and stuff. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. Like, what the hell?
Maybe not at the concert that you were at, but when I went, the last AC/DC concert that I went to and he played it, it was...
Did he do one-handed?
It was hammered on.
He didn't do it at that one. He picked it that way. And I saw him on, I don't know if it was David Letterman or maybe Arsenio Hall, one of those nighttime shows, but he picked it there too. Yeah. And I was like, all right. I can't pick it. Like my picking hand and my fingering hand don't go together. I can't. They don't line up to do it. Look at him giggling just because I said fingering hand. There's a difference. This is my fingering hand, and this is my fingering hand.
And this ceased to be G-rated.
Alex, don't Google that.
Don't listen to Black Ice.
Mm-hmm. So now there's our top 10. I'm just going to recap mine real quick here. I got number 10, High Voltage. Number 9, Let There Be Rock. Ride On, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, TNT, Hell's Bells, You Shook Me All Night Long, Highway to Hell, Back in Black, and number 1 is Thunderstruck.
Rob?
Yeah, and I got from 10 up, TNT, Sin City, Shoot to Thrill, Highway to Hell, Hell's Bells, what did I miss here? Jailbreak, It's a Long Way to the Top, Back in Black, For Those About to Rock, and the iconic Thunderstruck.
And I didn't write anything.
And you know what?
down,
Like Dirty Deeds wasn't even in my list.
Yeah.
It's like, how is, that's how tough that was. That that song should be in there.
See, I
But-
didn't have Jailbreak in my list. However,
Yeah.
on my favorite list, number 1, Jailbreak.
Yeah.
Number 2, Thunderstruck, then Hell's Bells, Dirty Deeds, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution, Highway to Hell, Back in Black, Big Balls, Who Made Who, and Sink the Pink.
Sink the Pink,
Love
Big
that.
Balls. Yeah, those are both good songs.
Yeah.
I could probably make a top 10 list from any combination of 2 AC/DC albums.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, easily.
And this is the problem is, I mean, you can almost do a top 10 AC/DC from the 70s, a top 10 AC/DC from the 80s, a top 10 AC/DC
Oh, yeah,
from the 90s.
there's Bon
Just do it
Scott
that way.
AC/DC and Brian Johnson AC/DC is like
Yeah.
top 10s of both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would fit in there. I really had a lot of fun with this. I had a lot of surprises with this too, and it was harder than I thought. And I think maybe we need to have more off-air discussions on those, like you were talking about the metrics for it, and what are we going to use, and try and have the three of us as uniform as we can
From
in
our
there,
direction, yeah.
from our own personal biases, but looking at songs and have different criteria for this. And I think I had so much fun doing this, and we've got another one to do later that is going to be just as much fun too. So I like this concept. I like this idea of doing this, and I think we should maybe do an AC/DC album list.
Yeah.
Because they have enough albums. Even if it's only a top 5, but we could do a top 10.
I don't even know how I'd do a top 5.
Yeah, that would be hard. But yeah, that would be fun though,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think we would all have most of the same albums. It's just the placement might be slightly different. And I think for that one, maybe we do just go personal faves on that, rather than try and get too technical and into it. Let's just go personal faves. Because I know people listening, they're going to argue about this one or that one. Their favorite song's not going to be on there. And how did you leave this song off? Or how did you put that one on there? And you know what? None of these things are perfect. And if you don't like it, make your own fucking list.
Well, at the end of the day, we are in the midst of recording 10 episodes before we put any out for ingestion whatsoever.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to have I'm not going to say an opportunity because it might be a curse to listen to them.
It
We'll
all
see.
just come at once.
Yeah.
So
Which I want. I want to hear that. Tell me what I do wrong
Yeah.
so I can fucking work on it.
at the end of the day, all these videos are gonna show up on a public channel on YouTube or wherever they happen to go. I mean, we haven't figured that out yet. Pornhub, probably with your last comments on your fingering hand, but when it's released for public consumption, that's where we would then start to urge people to do the things like like and subscribe and all that other crap, followed by the engagement.
Screw that. If they're listening to this one, it's already at that point. Like and subscribe and all those other things. I don't know how to work TikTok and Twitter and that shit, but do whatever you need to do to make it so we get paid.
That'd be ideally.
Send
listen
us
to
money. We'll set up an email.
We'll have
Send us
to-
money.
We'll have to embed some commercials in it, just make something going on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's the engagement. It's I love hearing your opinion. I love hearing your opinion. My opinion is obviously going to be maybe overlapping, but probably different. We're all different people. We come from different walks of life. I'm older than both of you, so I have a slightly
Yeah, we
different
know.
perspective on some things. It's mainly because my perspective is right. So I mean, there are differences.
Kramsky is getting sentimental. He's gonna cry.
Uh-huh.
Do we? Are we going down our favorites list?
Yeah. What's your faves?
Okay. We just naming them.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just did.
Okay. So favorites from 10 up. So number 10, I got Problem Child. Number 9, Live Wire.
Oh,
Number 8, Gone Shootin'. Number 7, Down Payment Blues.
ooh.
Number 6, Kicked in the Teeth. Number 5, Sin City. Number 6, The Jack.
The Jack.
Number 3.
Totally forgot.
Or sorry, what am I at? Number 4. Sorry, that's number 4. The Jack.
Yeah.
Number 3, Thunderstruck. Number 2, For Those About to Rock, and then Jailbreak is number 1.
Gotcha. And I never wrote any.
Your Jailbreak's got to be number 1 just to fit in.
Nope. No, my Jailbreak would have been right where I put it, because as I was speaking it, that would be what I would place things as, would be my favorites, because I wasn't sitting down here trying to think of 2 separate lists on the fly.
We didn't plan on 2 separate lists either. It just kind of ended up being that way.
Yeah.
I didn't do a whole lot of planning, but you guys also didn't have to do all the setup and everything else that I did. So my time involvement was a little bit different. So.
And we appreciate that. So for those of you listening, Colin is the one behind all this stuff and figures it out. So me and Rob just yap.
Yeah.
And moved it, because we don't want to be jammed into a tiny little room. So.
No. All right. Well, that's I think that was a good episode on AC/DC. We covered a fair amount on there. We learned some things about Spotify. I thought that was cool. We're kind of coming up on just shy of an hour here. Unless anybody's got anything major they want to say about AC/DC or anything that we didn't already cover.
No. Maybe a different point of view might be, because AC/DC started pre-era of music videos, but they were there from the inception of music videos onward. I mean, they were almost right there with the Buggles in being the first music videos played on MTV. Right?
Would you guys say that going from Bon Scott to Brian Johnson would be the greatest change of lead singer, where you just kept it like
the most successful change?
Like you didn't dip at all in the quality, or like it just kept it going with the entirely different. Like, right?
Would you say that was better done than Van Halen with David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I would.
As a measuring stick, right?
Yeah, because both those guys are better singers than David Lee Roth, Brian Johnson, and Bon Scott. So I'd put that right there. Puts them ahead for me. I mean,
David Lee Roth,
awesome.
Van Halen there's some badass.
That's the best Van Halen music was with David Lee Roth, but he wasn't their best singer though.
No, Sammy Hagar's definitely the better
singer, but
the better songs came.
The better songs, yeah.
I don't know. There's some from both catalogs, and it's much like Bon Scott, Brian Johnson.
Oh, Van Hagar does have a lot of great shit.
Totally,
too, for sure, but not as much as.
But if you're looking at Bon Scott and Brian Johnson, I mean,
that was a seamless.
Who you pick is the better singer?
And I like the fact that neither one of them really, if you break it down, are good singers.
No.
Neither one of them are good singers. But they both have such good voices for the music they were singing for.
Yeah.
So for them to go from Bon Scott with this gravelly, dirty, raw, like untrained voice that he had into Brian Johnson, who's very gravelly and dirty and rock. Like it fits so perfect. And for them to find those two voices together is amazing. And like, a different comparison as a Black Sabbath when they had Ozzy Osbourne and Ronnie James Dio. Yeah. Now Dio is an amazing singer, but he didn't fit in with Sabbath music. Like it just didn't.
Older Sabbath.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, but the vocal styling was so different on that it made it two different bands.
Yeah.
AC/DC's been AC/DC, right? With both guys. Yeah. They were AC/DC.
Yeah.
Sabbath was Black Sabbath and Black Sabbath Light, maybe?
I love
it's not like Van Halen and Van Hagar, where we very definitely distinguish those differences, right?
Yeah. And I don't think Black Sabbath took any sort of, I love Dio. And
I love Dio too. But
I thought he was a great fit with
Ozzy Sabbath is...
Well, yeah, it's like their best music. Their first 4 albums are nobody's messing with that, right?
Let's be blunt. And anybody looking at the video for this sees the Let's Talk Music, and Dio and AC/DC are the I and the C.
They're in there, yeah.
Right. I mean, they're iconic pieces.
But as far as quality, I actually think Dio is a better singer than Ozzy, personally.
Oh yeah, hands down.
Right, but
not for Sabbath.
I don't know, man. I love Dio Sabbath. Love it.
Yeah, but could you picture Dio singing Crazy Train?
Well, no, but I don't want to though.
It would not be the same.
Yeah, but
it
that
would just not be the same songs.
Yeah,
You can't really say Dio's a better singer than Ozzy when it comes to the songs that Ozzy made popular. I don't think Dio's doing them better than Ozzy.
Ozzy was with Sabbath for their best music, like for sure, like no argument there. Like I think.
Well, when they changed the name from Sabbath to Heaven and Hell,
Yeah.
that made more sense.
Yeah, but
Like that was better.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love the fit with Dio and Sabbath, but obviously it's not this. Like it's if I had to choose, I take the Ozzy Sabbath because those songs are just legendary, right? But like, but man, I love Dio though.
Well, it'd be like somebody else singing for Led Zeppelin, like.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're going down different rabbit holes here. So in terms of Bon Scott, Brian Johnson, no, in terms of seamless transition,
I think that transition was great between those two.
I don't think I don't know the mechanics behind how they picked Brian Johnson. I don't know if they went out and found Brian Johnson or if they held auditions and Brian Johnson came in. I don't know how it worked. I'm totally ignorant to it, but yeah, he was a very, very good slot-in replacement.
Well, and his first album with them was Back in Black, which is considered to be one of the best albums of all time. Not just AC/DC's best album, but one of the best albums of all music. Right? Like it's.
But when he came in there, what portion of the music did he have? Like, was the songwriting? I know Bon Scott was obviously singing, but I don't know what piece of the AC/DC puzzle was Bon Scott.
Most of the songs were all written by predominantly Malcolm, like Malcolm and Angus. But I know Brian had so much say in his vocals and a lot of lyrics and stuff on there he would do too.
But what about Bon?
I honestly don't know 100% on that one.
Like,
I'm gonna have to
with that being Brian
afterwards.
With that being Brian Johnson's first album, did he pick up Bon's notes?
Those were all new songs.
They were all new songs.
All new songs after that.
For release, yes. But were they
Written
in the
with
can?
Brian.
But were they in the can
No.
and notes and everything else?
They may have had some riffs here and there, but not as far as like Bon was gonna sing Back in Black and then Brian ended up doing it. That wasn't the scenario.
Man, what an album to introduce yourself with the new, like, you know, if you're a fan and you were worried about a new guy taking over, and then
like,
you
I
heard
gotta take over for Bon Scott.
Yeah.
Let's just put out the greatest heavy metal album ever. Like,
and
here we go.
you're an AC/DC fan at the time, you're like, how's this gonna work with the new lead singer? And then they put that out, you're like, oh shit, okay,
You're like, all right,
let's go.
My band's in good hands here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm in.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get too much further into that one without delving down many different rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Like we've already done.
That was a good one. AC/DC is done. Thanks, guys, for doing this. Thanks to anybody who's listening. Keep listening to all of them. Like, subscribe, send us money, show us your boobs, all those fun things.
For those about to rock, we salute you.
If Adam's preaching for people to send us money, that means Adam wants us to open an OnlyFans.
Adam's on his own there. Good luck.
I'm in. Ciao.
Uh-oh.
That one